Let me start with something that might upset you. There is one thing missing from almost every self-improvement video you have ever watched, every single one. And that missing piece is exactly why you keep watching them. You keep watching because they almost work. They make you feel smarter. They make you feel hopeful. But somehow they never actually change your life. I know what is missing. And when I tell you, there is a good chance you will feel angry, not at me, but at how much time you have already lost. A few days ago, my granddaughter sent me a video. She said, "Grandma, you need to watch this. It explains everything." The title promised it would explain life in 15 minutes. So I watched it, all 15 minutes. And here is the uncomfortable truth. That video was not wrong. Almost none of it was wrong, but it was missing something so large, so fundamental, that I am not sure the person who made it even realized it was missing. And that missing thing, if you allow it into your life, it can actually save you. I know that sounds dramatic. I am 92 years old. I do not make claims like that lightly. For 39 years, I sat in a small office with a fern on the windowsill. Teenagers came in every single day, scared, confused, certain they were already failing at life. Roughly 12,000 young people sat across from me in that chair, and every single one of them was trying to solve the same problem you are trying to solve right now. How do I live without wasting my life? How do I stop feeling behind? How do I stop feeling like I am running out of time? The videos you watch will never answer that, not because they are lying, but because the real answer does not fit neatly into chapters. It does not sound clever in a voiceover. It does not make a clean bullet list. And it does not sell very well, but it is the truth. And you need it more than you need another set of principles. So please, stay with me for a moment. That video talked about the effort paradox, how the harder you try, the more you fail. And yes, there is truth there. I watched it play out over and over in my office. The students who desperately wanted to be liked were often the loneliest. The ones obsessed with getting into the right college were the ones who fell apart once they got there. I remember a boy, let's call him Marcus. He was brilliant, disciplined, determined. He wanted a wrestling scholarship so badly that he began cutting weight dangerously. He stopped sleeping. He pushed away every friend he had. By his senior year, he sat in my office at 7 in the morning, crying because he could not remember why he wanted it anymore. He got the scholarship, and then he quit after one semester. That is the effort paradox, not as a theory, but as a human life. But here is what those videos never tell you. Marcus did not fail because he tried too hard. He failed because he was trying to become someone he was not. For people who did not really know him, to prove something that never needed proving. The problem was never effort. The problem was direction. And that difference and that single distinction can change your entire life if you let it. You do not need to try less. You need to try honestly. There is a world of difference between working hard for something that truly matters to you and grinding yourself into dust for something you think is supposed to matter. One builds a life, the other hollows it out. I have seen both thousands of times. The students who truly thrived were not lazy. They were not relaxed their way into success. They suffered, sometimes deeply, figuring out what was actually theirs to care about. And once they found it, they gave it everything they had. Effort is not the enemy. Misdirected effort is. That video also talks about control. It tells you that you cannot control what happens to you, only your actions and your reactions. It quotes the Stoics. It puts clean circles on the screen. Circle of control, circle of concern. And again, it is not wrong. But I want to tell you what control actually looks like when it is not a quote floating over soft music. It looks like a girl named Diane sitting in my office in 1978. She was 15 years old. Her father had moved out the night before. She did not know if he was coming back. Her mother had started drinking more. Her little brother had begun wetting the bed again from the stress. Her world was collapsing, quietly, the way most worlds collapse. Diane could not control whether her father stayed or left. She could not control her mother's choices. She could not control the fear in her house, but she could control something very small. She could decide whether she went to class that day, whether she studied that night, whether she showed up again the next morning, and she did. Day after day, she graduated. She became a dental hygienist. She built a quiet, stable life. She's in her 60s now. I still get a Christmas card from her every year. But here is what matters. Listen carefully. When Diane sat in my office that morning, she was not thinking about Stoicism. She was not applying a framework. She was not calmly evaluating her locus of control. She was a terrified child choosing to keep going. That choice was not philosophical. It was muscular. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. This is what those videos miss. When your life is falling apart, you do not need a diagram. You do not need labels. You do not need someone explaining paradoxes to you. You need someone to look you in the eye and say, I know this is unbearable. I know you cannot fix it. But can you show up tomorrow? Just tomorrow. That is what I asked Diane. That is what I asked hundreds of students. And most of them did not keep going because they understood a theory. They kept going because someone believed they could survive one more day. So if you are watching this right now and your life feels completely out of control, I am not going to give you a framework. I am going to ask you the same thing I asked them. Can you do tomorrow? Not your whole future, not your 5-year plan, not fixing everything that is broken, just tomorrow. We will figure out the rest later. The video also talks about happiness. It says happiness is a byproduct, not a destination. That chasing it makes it run away. They call it the hedonic treadmill. And again, not wrong. But after listening to 12,000 students, and then watching their lives unfold over decades, here is what I actually observed. The people who ended up what I would call content, and I choose that word carefully, were not the ones who found some grand purpose. They were the ones who learned to pay attention. That is it. That is the secret that does not sell books. They noticed things. They could sit in a room and actually be in the room. They could listen without rehearsing their reply. They could eat a meal and taste it. They could walk through a park and see the park, not just their thoughts reflected back at them. I had a student named Grace, nothing remarkable on paper, average grades, no sports, worked at a pet store after school, but Grace had this rare quality. She was there. When you talked to her, she looked at you like you were the only person in the building, and I remember thinking, that girl is going to be fine. Not successful in the way videos define it, but fine in the way that actually matters. She is fine. She lives quietly, raises goats, sells cheese at a farmer's market. She did not find purpose. She found attention, and attention is the foundation of everything else. You cannot love what you do not notice. You cannot enjoy what you are not present for. You cannot change what you refuse to look at. Every principle in that 15-minute video requires attention to work, but nobody tells you that part because pay attention is only 2 words. It does not fill a chapter. That video also talks about how your brain lies to you, cognitive biases, confirmation bias, the halo effect, unreliable memories, all true, every word of it. But after 39 years in that small office, I learned something more dangerous than any name bias. The biggest lie people tell is not to others, it is to themselves. And the lie almost always sounds the same. I already know. I already know what I want. I already know what is wrong with me. I already know why I do this. I already know who I am. The hardest students to help were never the confused ones. Confused students were easy. They came in and said, I don't know what to do. That is workable. But the certain ones, they were nearly impossible. Certain they were not smart enough. Certain they had to become a lawyer because their father was one. Certain nothing would ever change. Certain they were just this way. Certainty is the most dangerous bias of all, and it does not even get its own chapter. Right now, you are probably standing on certainties that are quietly destroying you. Certainties about your limits, certainties about your worth, certainties about what you have to do. They feel like truth because you have believed them for so long they have become the floor beneath your feet. But I have watched enough young people pull up those floorboards to know something. Underneath certainty, there is almost always possibility. If you are absolutely sure about something that is making you miserable, question the sureness, not the situation first. The sureness. That is not a clever paradox. That is practical survival advice from a woman who watched people transform simply because they were willing to admit, maybe I don't know. Now let me tell you something harder. The video you watched is 15 minutes long. It has chapters, labels, clean sections, the effort paradox, the control paradox, the happiness trap, and those labels make life feel like a puzzle. Decode the principle, apply it correctly, win. But that is not how it works. Life is not a series of principles. Life is a series of Tuesdays. Ordinary Tuesdays, unremarkable Tuesdays, where nothing dramatic happens, and yet everything happens. For 54 years, my husband, let's call him Donald, ate the same breakfast. 2 eggs over easy, 1 slice of dry toast, black coffee. He read the sports section. He asked me how I slept. He left at 7:45 every single weekday. At the time, it felt repetitive, ordinary. Now, if I could have one more Tuesday morning with him, just one, I would trade every principle, every framework, every piece of wisdom I have ever accumulated. Give me one more ordinary breakfast, because that is what life actually is, not the lessons, the moments you are too distracted to notice. Right now, while you are watching this, life is happening. Your coffee is cooling. Someone in another room might be waiting for you. The light outside your window is falling in a way it will never fall again in exactly that pattern. And you are trying to figure out life while life is quietly moving past you. I am not telling you to stop learning. I am telling you to stop confusing learning with living. They are not the same. You can understand every single principle in that video and still miss your entire life because you were too busy understanding it to participate in it. And now I need to tell you something deeply personal. My son struggled for most of his 20s and 30s, alcohol, and I do not say that lightly. It is the great heartbreak of my life. Worse than losing my husband, because with my husband I had peace. With my son, I had to watch someone I loved slowly disappear inside a version of himself I did not recognize. Here's what matters for you. He knew everything. He could explain why he drank. He could name his triggers. He understood habit loops before they were popular language. He had read the books. He understood the psychology. He knew, and he kept drinking. Because knowing is not doing. Understanding your patterns is not the same as changing them. Frameworks cannot substitute for the terrifying moment when you actually have to put the glass down and sit with who you are without it. I saw this with students too. A girl, Teresa. She knew she was in a bad relationship. She could explain exactly why it was unhealthy. She could predict what would happen next, and every week she came back and said, I know, I know. Knowing felt productive. It felt like progress, but nothing changed. Understanding without action is the most comfortable form of avoidance I have ever seen. Teresa did not leave because she learned something new. She left because one day she was tired enough to do what she had known for 2 years. Tired beats smart, every time. My son got sober at 43, not because of a new principle, because one morning his daughter, my granddaughter, flinched when he reached for her. She flinched, and something broke open inside him that no book had been able to reach. He has been sober for over a decade now, not saved by theory, saved by a moment. I am going to tell you my age now because it matters. I am 92 years old. I was born in 1934 in a small steel town in Ohio. My father worked long shifts in a mill. My mother altered other people's clothes at the kitchen table. I was the first in my family to go to college. For 39 years, I sat in that small office and I listened. That is mostly what I did. I listened to fear, to ambition, to heartbreak, to certainty, to confusion. 12,000 young people, 54 years of marriage, 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, an ordinary life. And after all of that, here is what I know. Life cannot be explained in 15 minutes. It cannot be explained in 15 hours. It probably cannot be explained at all, but it can be lived. And the living of it is the explanation. You do not figure life out and then begin. You begin. And the understanding sneaks up on you later, usually when you are not trying to understand anything at all. Usually on a Tuesday, usually over something small. That is what those videos cannot give you. They make life feel like a code. Get the right principles, apply them correctly, win the game. But life is not a code. It is not a puzzle. It is not an optimization project. It is a Tuesday morning with eggs. It is the way someone asks you how you slept. It is the sound of dishes in the sink. It is the light coming through a window at 6:42 a.m. It is painfully, stubbornly ordinary. And that is exactly why you miss it. You are looking for transformation. Life is offering you presents. You are searching for breakthroughs. Life is handing you moments. You think you need a framework. You need attention. Right now, while you're watching this, something small and unrepeatable is happening around you. Your coffee is cooling. The air in the room is shifting. Someone you love is aging, even if you cannot see it yet. And you are trying to solve life instead of inhabiting it. Learning is not the same as living. Let me say that again. Learning is not the same as living. You can understand every paradox. You can memorize every principle. You can explain cognitive bias at dinner parties and still wake up at 70 realizing you were always preparing for a life you never actually stepped into. The people who live well are not the ones who understand the most. They are the ones who show up the most, show up for breakfast, show up for the conversation, Show up for the boring Tuesday, because one day, and I promise you this with the authority of 92 years, you will ache for one more ordinary morning, one more chance to sit across from someone you love while they eat the same breakfast they have eaten for 30 years. You will not crave a better mindset. You will crave a moment. And here is the part that may frustrate you. There is no system for this, no 5-step method, no productivity hack. Just this. Be where you are fully, not analyzing it, not optimizing it, not turning it into content. Just there. That is the missing piece. Not effort, not control, not happiness theory, presence. And presence feels too simple to be powerful, but it is the only thing that ever was. After 92 years, I have come to a conclusion that does not trend well. You do not need another explanation of life. You need to participate in it. The thing that bothers me most about those 15-minute videos is not that they are wrong. It is that they quietly convince you that life is a problem to be solved. That if you just gather enough insight, enough principles, enough mental models, you will finally crack the code. But life is not a code. It is a Tuesday morning. It is a 4-year-old flinching. It is a quiet girl who grows up to raise goats and sell cheese at a farmer's market without ever once needing to know what the hedonic treadmill is. It is a peppermint in a ceramic bowl on a desk. For 39 years, I kept peppermints in a bowl in my office. Every student who came in took one. Some days, that peppermint was the only sweet thing in their entire day. Think about that. Not a principle, not a breakthrough, not a framework, a peppermint, small, ordinary, unremarkable. And yet sometimes it was enough to help someone make it to tomorrow. You keep watching videos because they make you feel like you are moving. But feeling like you are moving is not the same as moving. Understanding is not the same as changing. Explaining love is not the same as loving someone. Explaining courage is not the same as showing up when you are afraid. Explaining life is not the same as living it. The people who live best are not the ones who understand the most. They are the ones who show up the most. They show up for the conversation. They show up for the boring work. They show up for the awkward silence. They show up for the ordinary Tuesday. And that is the missing piece. Presence. Not glamorous, not optimized, not monetizable, just attention, just being there. So here is what I want you to do. Not someday, now. Close this video. Yes, close it. Go sit with someone you love. Do not talk about productivity. Do not discuss frameworks. Do not analyze your childhood. Just sit. Look at them. Notice how they hold their cup. Notice the rhythm of their breathing. Notice the way the light touches their face. That is life, not the explanation of it, the thing itself. And if you are alone right now, then sit with yourself without a screen, without improvement, without solving, just sit. Can you do tomorrow? Can you taste your coffee? Can you notice the air in the room? That is enough. You do not need a 15-minute video. You need a peppermint. You need a Tuesday. You need to pay attention. I will still be here if you need me, but life will not wait while you try to understand it. So go live it.